We're going to continue through the Ten Commandments today. We're on part 3, so we're going to try to cover 3 more commands. The first one that we are going to do is number 5, thou shalt not kill. Now Luther said we should fear and love God that we may not hurt or harm our neighbor in his body, but help and befriend him in every need and danger of life and body. But we're going to delve into this a little bit deeper as we go through it, particularly looking at it from a Christian point of view. So, Braden, will you read what Jesus says in Matthew 5, verse 21 and following?
You have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable for judgment. But I say to you that if you are angry with a brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment, and if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council, and if you say, you fool, you will be liable to the hell of fire.
Thank you. Now, Jesus in that statement says that murder and anger are equal. How many of you would agree with that? I figure you're agreeing. Some of you are not raising your hands at all, probably because it doesn't seem to make sense. Why would Jesus equate murder and anger? Do you have any ideas? Why does someone kill somebody else?
Because they're probably mad.
They're probably mad.
Mental.
Right. Any of you watched Larry the Cable Guy? Have you ever watched him at all? He comes in and he says, guns don't kill people. Husbands who come home early kill people. You ever heard that one?
Who?
Larry the Cable Guy.
What's the second part you said?
He says guns don't kill people. Husbands who come early kill people. Because husbands who come home early find their wife with another guy and then they kill them because they are angry. At the heart of murder, for the most part, is anger. And so what Jesus is getting at here is that it's not the act that is the problem. Where does the problem originate?
Anger.
Which is a what type of problem? Where does that start? Where does anger start? Where does it come from?
What else doing wrong?
It comes from inside you, doesn't it? Anger starts down deep in the heart and in the mind. And that's where it comes from. That's where it originates. If a spouse finds that their husband or wife is cheating on them, they get extremely angry because deep in their hearts they they feel betrayed. They feel upset. They feel like somebody has taken advantage of them, and so they act out. So what Jesus is getting at here with the commandment about murder is that it starts deep down in the heart. So by that definition, by understanding that murder starts with anger, and that's the root cause of it, and that to commit murder means to simply be angry. How many of you have committed murder? How many of you have killed? Yeah. Yeah. It happens when we get angry. Now, Luther was building on this when he was talking about his stuff in the Large Catechism. And he says, but the cause and need of this commandment is that God well knows that the world is evil and that this life has much unhappiness. Therefore he has placed this and the other commandments between the good and the evil. Now, as there are many assaults upon all commandments, so it happens also in this commandment that we must live among people who do us harm, so that we have cause to be hostile to them. So again, what Luther is recognizing this here is exactly what you were saying, Kylie. We get mad at people who hurt us. We get angry at people who do things to us and upset us. And that's what Luther means by people who are hostile to us. We get angry at them because they are corrupted by sin. they hurt us just like we are corrupted by sin, and sometimes we hurt others. So, as when your neighbor sees that you have a better house and a home, a large family, more fertile fields, greater possessions, and fortune from God than he is sulky, envies you, and speaks no good of you. Thus, by the devil's incitement, you will get many enemies who cannot bear to see you have any good, either bodily or spiritual. It basically means, Luther says, people get jealous of what we have. And when we see such people, see such people who are angry at us, who are spiteful at us for no good reason at all, we get angry with them, and we take vengeance. Then there arise cursing and blows, from which follow finally misery and murder. Now, I don't think you have to go too far to see this kind of stuff happening in our society today. I know Reed still probably is all on the Trump bandwagon. But you've heard about the protests that are happening around the country. People are protesting Trump, right? You've heard about that. There are other people who show up to kind of protest the protest. Have you heard about the fights that have taken place? Have you heard about people getting beat up because of these kind of things?
The limos?
Yeah.
I heard there was a new law that you could like run over or like go through.
Yeah, if they block it, I can't remember exactly what state it was, but you know, if they block the highway and you have to get through them, you won't be held liable for it. Again, you have this escalation. You have people who are angry at Trump and angry at Trump supporters, and so they go after Trump supporters, and the Trump supporters fight back, and vice versa. So you have this escalation of anger that has turned into violence, that have turned into people hurting one another. We haven't had anybody killed that I know of lately, but if that violence continues, if that anger continues, if that hostility continues, what's going to eventually happen? Somebody's going to get killed. And that's what Luther is saying happens right here, that escalation of anger. And so what the commandment is step back away from this. So what Luther says, therefore the entire sum of what it means not to kill is to be impressed most explicitly upon the simple-minded. In the first place, number one, we harm no one with our hand or by deed. Then, second, we do not employ our tongue to instigate or counsel them. You don't speak ugly of people. You don't degrade them. You don't demean them. Further, we neither use or assent to any kinds of means or methods whereby one may be injured, which means we don't support violence. We should be going after those who hurt Trump protesters, and we go after the Trump protesters who hurt other people. We say, no, this is not acceptable. And finally, and this is the key, that the heart be not ill-disposed towards anyone for anger or hatred or wish him ill, so that the body and soul may be innocent in regard to everyone, so that your heart, deep in your heart, you have no anger. This is what the commandment means. This is why Jesus says what he says. Murder is about your state of the heart. And if your heart is not in the right place, if your heart is not focused towards good, if your heart is focused towards violence, you will produce violence. Let me see, you have any questions? Okay, the other part of this, the other part that Luther says not only is this about us not being angry at our neighbor or killing our neighbor, there's a positive aspect to it as well. So if we see somebody who is trying to be angry with our neighbor, if we see somebody trying to harm our neighbor, what is our call then?
To help your neighbor.
Pretty much. To help our neighbor to make sure that they are not a victim of violence either. So we are to step in and help them. And Luther actually takes it a step further. And in that last paragraph he says, okay, if you see someone who is in the cold with no jacket, when it's freezing, raining, and you don't help them, guess what you have done?
Murder.
You've murdered, you've killed them. if you saw someone who was being beaten and you didn't intervene to help, what have you done?
Murder.
If you have seen somebody being berated, badmouthed, talked about in a fashion that they don't deserve, what have you committed? You see, murder is not simply me not killing someone, it's also allowing that to happen to someone. So what the commandment states is, okay, the heart is so tuned to God and His love that we do not become angry with folks, and we do not seek anyone's harm. In fact, we do the exact opposite and seek the good for everyone. That's the difference between bringing death and bringing life. And God says we want life. Okay, any questions? Anyone have any thoughts? Okay, well, y'all are quiet today, like dead. Y'all are not looking forward to go cleaning signs, are you?
Just give me some Chick-fil-A.
How many signs are there?
Huh?
How many signs?
There's 1, 2, 3.
Oh, there's three.
I
I
think
think
we
one.
need
Hey, me and Raj got one.
Very good, are they?
Huh?
Me and Brianna have one.
Y'all wanna know?
We
Okay.
went to one over there by my house, like about to turn.
Right.
That's the one me, Blake, and California.
Oh, okay. Well, y'all flip a coin. I'm not in charge of that one.
I don't care.
It's a little
Either way, you gotta do whatever.
Okay, now we come to the one that can get people in trouble, particularly people like me who talk about it in this day and age. Number 6, thou shalt not commit adultery. That's why one of the reasons I have a video camera going. I got in trouble with this when I was younger, just starting out as a pastor. Adultery, you do not have sex outside of marriage. Period. That's the law. And I was telling that, teaching a group of confirmands that, and one of the confirmands went home and talked to his mother about it. Well, the pastor says, no sex outside of marriage. And the parents said, well, wait till you're engaged. So I was like, well, you look in the Bible, you look at what Luther says about betrothal, I can see that, should wait till marriage. I've talked about that in front of a men's Bible study, that here was this kid who actually went and talked to his parents about appropriate places to have sex, and the people got all mad at me because I didn't shut the parents down and tell the kid to do one thing. So it's very touchy for some people to talk about these things. But it bears talking about, particularly in the church. What does it mean that you should not commit adultery? Luther says we should fear and love God that we may lead a chaste and decent life in words and deeds, and each of us love and honor his spouse. Ellie, would you read what Jesus says in Matthew 5:27?
You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. 28. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart.
Okay, same thing that we see with murder, we see with adultery. Where does it start?
The heart.
The heart. It starts with a lust, a deep down desire for someone else. A consuming desire that does not go away. That's where adultery starts. That's why Jesus says the act and the desire are one and the same. It originates in the heart. A good heart that is prone towards love does not seek fulfillment in someone else outside of their spouse. You simply seek the love. And God has created marriage to be a special relationship. In fact, the Christian thought has been one man, one woman for life when it comes to marriage. And it is said, don't have sexual relations outside of that relationship. Don't have sexual relations outside of marriage. And there's a reason for that. And I want to share with you that reason. You may have tons of friends who are going to tell you the opposite. The culture and society these days tells you almost the exact opposite. I'm going to give you the church's voice and the church's reason for this because I think it's important. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And it really drives things home. And I'm going to read to you St. Paul's letter from 1 Corinthians. You have it in front of you, so follow along. He says, all things are lawful to me, but not all things are beneficial. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be dominated by anything. Food is meant for the stomach and the stomach for food, and God will destroy both one and the other. The body is meant not for fornication, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. And God raised the Lord and will also raise us by his power. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ? Should I therefore take the members of Christ and make them members of a prostitute? Never. Do you not know that whoever is united to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For it is said, the two shall be one flesh. But anyone united to the Lord becomes one spirit with him. Shun fornication. Every sin that a person commits is outside the body, but the fornicator sins against the body itself. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, which you have from God, and that you are not your own? For you were bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. Now, it may seem like a lot of mumbo jumbo, but let me try to explain something to you, what Christianity teaches. Christianity teaches that when you are baptized, somehow, mysteriously, you are now linked to Jesus. You become one with Jesus. So that whatever happened to Jesus now happened to you. And Jesus died on the cross, so in a way we have died. Jesus was also resurrected, so we live a new life. And he says when we died, and what Paul says in the book of Romans is that when we died, we are no longer under sin's power. We are no longer under the law's power. We are disassociated from those things because we have died. But we have been raised to new life. And when we are raised to new life, we are joined to Jesus. Jesus effectually becomes the center of our attention. If you want to put it in marriage terms, this kind of sounds gross for guys, but Jesus kind of becomes your spouse. He becomes the thing that you live for. You are joined to him. So he is literally a part of you. In Galatians, he says, as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have clothed yourself with Christ. So Jesus is a part of you. You are joined to Jesus somehow. And so Paul says, if you are joined to Jesus, would you want to defile Jesus? Would you want to bring any kind of impurity to him at all? And I hope the answer for you is no. I don't want to bring Jesus any kind of impurity because he died for me. He bought me with a price. And it's interesting that what Paul says is that if you seek out prostitution, if you join yourself to another person, you have been united with them as one flesh. This goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Who was the first being created, man or woman? Man was, right? And God said it's not good for man to be alone, so I will create for him a helper. And so he took what part of man's body? A rib. And he made woman. And so man is not whole because woman was taken out of him. Woman is not whole because she was taken out of man. And when those two are joined together, they become one flesh. And so we understand that as part of marriage, but we also understand that as the act of sex. When a man and a woman are joined together, it is much more than physical. There is a deep bond that is shared between those two. You can pretend like it's not there. You can think, oh, it's no big deal. It is. You are joining yourself to another person. And so you are connected to that other person in a very real way spiritually. Now, if that's the case, and you're joined to someone not only physically but spiritually, do you just want to go join into every person you run into? Or do you want to make sure, when it comes down to that relationship, you save yourself for that one who will be there for forever? That you save yourself for that relationship that is meant to last for a lifetime. The Bible takes sexuality very, very seriously. It takes it as the highest expression of love that is possible. Our society throws it around like candy. You can turn on the internet, turn on your computer and see tons of pictures of naked guys or girls immediately. You know that. Because we throw that stuff around like candy. But Christianity says your body is sacred. It's a gift to you from God. How in the world are you going to use that gift? Do you want to join it with a whole bunch of people and kind of treat it like candy? Or do you want to preserve it as sacred for the one who you will share it with the rest of your life? That's the question that you've got to answer. I can't answer it for you. I'm going to encourage you to save it for marriage, for when you meet that person to fall in love with the rest of your life. That's my job to do that. I believe it. I have practiced it. I've lived it. Anybody tells you that you can't be abstinent until marriage or what have you, they lie. You can. It can be done. It's just a question of what you want to focus on. Are you going to be overcome by your desires? Or are you going to remember who bought you with a price and who you were meant for? That's the question you have to answer as you grow and think about these kind of things. It's much more than just saying you shouldn't do it. I can get up here and tell you that forever. It's much deeper than that. It has to do with who do you want to share yourself with when it comes to that. All right, you got any thoughts, any questions? Any comments? I included a quote from Luther down there at the end, simply because he says, because among us there is such a shameful mess and the very dregs of all vile and lewdness, this commandment is directed against all manner of unchastity. If you think that the kind of stuff that goes on in our society is brand new, that it's never been done before, kids, there's nothing new under the sun. Anything that has ever been tried has already been done. There were times of nastiness and stuff like that, all the way back even to Luther, and he's trying to show us this. So there's always been those who are willing to sit there and go, okay, no, we're not going to buy into that crap. We're not going to buy into that garbage. We're going to take a very different stance. To be countercultural these days is to be a Christian and embrace the Christian way of morality, because the society sure ain't telling you to do that. So if you want to be unique, you want to stand against the culture, try living out your Christian values. All right, last one. Thou shalt not steal. Kylie, would you read what Luther says under what does this mean? Answer.
We should fear and love God, that we may not take our neighbor's money or property, nor get them by false ware or dealing, but help him to improve and protect his property and business, that his means are preserved and his condition is improved.
All right, cool. Now, there's a whole lot of stuff from Luther down there. You can read that on your own time. But what I am going to kind of explain here are a couple of things. Number one, you should not try to appropriate your neighbor's stuff by cheating them out of it. When I was a kid, I was in first grade, and my class was all weirded out during that time. I had to leave my homeroom and go to another class for most of the day. Then I go back to my homeroom for lunch. Then I go to the other class for the rest of the day and come back to my homeroom at the very end of the day. Because I was basically put in with like all the ESL kids and stuff like that. And I was desperate for somebody to talk with and be friends with, because all of my friends were in one of the other classes. And I didn't really have anybody to talk to at lunch or anything else like that. And so I was sitting next to a kid by the name of Jimmy. And Jimmy knew that I wanted to have a friend, have somebody to talk to and stuff like that. And so he started saying, you know, Kevin, if you give me your dessert at lunch, I'll be your friend. Like, well, I really wanted a friend. I really wanted somebody to talk to. So I started giving him my dessert. And I gave him my dessert every day for a long time. Until one day I was really, really hungry. I remember I was real hungry. And I said, Jimmy, I am really hungry today. I really want to eat my dessert. And he says, well, if you don't give me your dessert, I just won't be your friend. I said, come on, man, I'm really, really hungry. He says, no, I won't be your friend if you don't give me your dessert. And I said, well, I'm really hungry. I'm sorry, but I guess I just won't be your friend. Now, what did Jimmy do to me for all of those times I was giving out the dessert?
Stole.
He did. Why? Why is it stealing?
Because
He took advantage of you.
Right. He was manipulating me and taking advantage of me to get something that he wanted that I had. Now, this kind of stuff happens all the time. You know, people trick other people into giving them stuff. Lawyers are really good at it. But this is kind of, it's not just about going into a store and pulling something off the shelf and sticking it in your pocket or stuffing it in your clothes. It goes deeper than that. It goes to whether or not you try to get something that doesn't belong to you by dishonest means. And it even goes further than that. You know, you ever hear stories of auto mechanics who won't fix a vehicle right? Will fix it up with duct tape and baling wire instead of putting a new part in? You heard of stuff like that? What is that?
Stealing.
It's stealing. It's taking advantage of people. Salesman, yes. Used car salesman. I hope none of y'all end up as used car salesmen, right? You're not going to do that to me, right? No. If you do, be honest. Be honest. I mean, that's part of it. You don't trick somebody into getting stuff that they don't need. That's stealing.
Technically, that's your job, so.
Oh, no, you have it.
Kinda.
No, it's not your job to get people to buy stuff that they don't need.
Look.
I mean, if they freely get it, fine, but you don't manipulate them into getting it. You know, it's like when you go to buy, you know, an extended warranty on a car or something like that. Most cars, most things you don't need extended warranties on. Consumer Reports is adamant about that. Most of the time you don't need them at all. They're just a way for auto companies to get money. But when you go in there, are they going to try to push those on you? Absolutely, and they're going to scare the crap out of you. Well, there's so much computer stuff on this car now that if one of them breaks down, I mean, you'd be looking at thousands and thousands of dollars of repair. And you're like, I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars. Give me the warranty. So they trick you into getting it. So that is stealing. That is theft. When you manipulate somebody else to get their stuff. So it goes beyond just taking stuff and doing that. Second of all, if someone is paying you to work and you don't, and you receive the money anyways, is that stealing?
Yep.
Yes, it's stealing. You are being paid to do a particular job, and if you don't do that job and get money for it anyways, you are stealing. I mean, I've had this happen before. We were paying someone to help sit our house. They took off. They didn't take care of my dogs. Did I pay them?
Yeah.
No.
Did you pay him ahead?
I paid part of it, but I didn't pay them all because did they fulfill their obligations?
No.
If I would have paid them, would they have been stealing from me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They did too.
Huh?
They still did. That little bit they paid.
Well, when they did, I paid them for that, but I didn't pay them for everything. And I told them that, so I'm not paying you for this last day. So you didn't take care of my house. So if you are paid to do a job and you don't do it, I mean, if you're working in an office building and you're, you know, checking Facebook and playing Facebook games or playing on games on your phone, are you stealing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are. You are. So it goes further than that. Okay, now the other part of the command, the final one. If your neighbor, if you're sitting at home and you look out and you see a stranger going into your neighbor's house and start walking out with televisions, computers, guns and stuff like that, and you know your neighbor's not home, you know this person isn't supposed to be there, and you let them go, is that stealing?
Yeah.
Actually it is. Because you have the ability to stop it. What is, yes?
What if you don't have the ability? Like, what if this person has like a weapon or
Yes,
something?
yes. I didn't say go kill yourself for it, but call the police. If you don't call the police, if you don't call the sheriff, are you stealing? Yes, because you have the ability to try to prevent it. So if you see, you know, your neighbor open his car and this piece of paper flies out, might be a bill, might be something important, and it just flies right by you and you just ignore it, are you stealing? Yes, you are. Because you are not helping your neighbor obtain his property. This is part of the commandment when it says you take care of even your neighbor's stuff. You go above and beyond the duty when it comes to caring for things. Because it's not just yours, you have a vested interest in what your neighbor's prosperity is. And so, as a pastor, it's my job. As a church, it's our job to help you and help you thrive, not try to take things from you. This is part of what we do as Christians. So, stealing is not just taking something. It is also taking advantage of others to get their stuff, manipulating them to get their stuff. It is also not doing the job that you were properly paid to do, and it also means not caring for your neighbor's goods when you have every opportunity to do it. Clear? All right, any thoughts, any questions?